This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. Get access to my streaming video service, Nebula, when you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the description. More on that later. The X-Men. The Children of the Atom. Charlie's Angels. Kind of. They're my favorite anything. Favorite comics. Favorite video games. Favorite cartoons. And favorite movies. I know I talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DCEU a lot, but X-Men is more important to me than either of those. Honestly, I think X2 might be my favorite superhero movie ever made. I'll make a video on that one day. So it hurt me that my favorite franchise ended with X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Dark Phoenix, the two least astonishing or uncanny movies in the series. And I don't believe that the change I'm going to be proposing in this video will completely fix Dark Phoenix, because I think the movie is fundamentally broken. The storyline only works if we are properly invested in the relationships between Jean and the X-Men, specifically Scott and the Professor. And we've really only spent about an hour with this version of Jean Grey. You can't make a well-fleshed out adaptation of Dark Phoenix if your Jean Grey isn't a solid character, and this one isn't. It would be kind of like if you made Avengers and then immediately skipped to Civil War. There aren't relationships that are built over time. It doesn't feel natural. It feels rushed. So in this video, I'm not expecting to fix all of Dark Phoenix, but I am going to attempt to fix what I believe is Dark Phoenix's biggest individual mistake. And her name, if you can believe it, is Vuk. Okay, let's start here. Dark Phoenix is not the worst movie I have ever seen. It might not be the worst Dark Phoenix movie I've ever seen. A lot of the performances are good. The cinematography is pretty interesting. The score is great. And yet, because the movie itself was not very good, there's a good chance you did not see Dark Phoenix. But you clicked on this video anyway. So I need to make sure you have at least a passing knowledge of what happened in Dark Phoenix. So I'm going to do a quick recap in the style of Lebowski Thor. Where to start? The Space Force. Firstly, it's not a Phoenix Force. People call it the Phoenix Force, but it's more of an angry Space Force sort of thing. Someone's going to need to amend that and stop saying that. Here's an interesting story about Dark Phoenix. These aliens, many years ago, tried to get the Space Force. They were called the Dabari. Ooh, scary beings. So Jean, actually, Jean is a member of the X-Men now. She teleported into a spaceship this one time, and then the Space Force stuck itself inside of her. She became very, very angry, and so she went to see her estranged father, who abandoned her, and the X-Men had to try to catch her. She was dating Scott at the time. See, they tried to calm her down, and she talked to Mystique, who's dead, and Jean went with Vuk, and Magneto and Beast tried to kill Jean, and then they all got put on a train, because Vuk stole the Space Force, and the aliens tried to kill the X-Men, but they didn't. And then Jean killed Vuk and herself. These things happen, nothing lasts forever. See? Now you understand. You don't even need to see the movie or Thor 2, because they're the same movie. Anyway, in this video, I am not going to try and change the entire movie, because that's not what this video is. It's a small change. If you wanted a big change, maybe I'll make that video someday, but this is not it. So I don't want to see any comments about how this suggestion doesn't completely fix the movie. That's not what this video is. It's just a question I had leaving the theater, one I still don't quite understand to this day. Why isn't this Emma Frost? Now I know a couple of you are thinking, Emma Frost is dead. Magneto told us in Days of Future Past that Emma and Banshee and Poochie died on the way to their home planets. So I don't think this is a real issue because A, most people probably don't remember that. B, the X-Men continuity is a dumpster fire that already doesn't make sense, so who cares? You're saying this is how much Moira has aged in 20 years? At what point does Trask go from looking like this to this? Also, there is another Emma Frost kicking around in the 80s who's like 15 or something, so it doesn't matter. And then C, Emma Frost could conceivably fake her own death. She has psychic powers, frequently uses them to create illusions. All we need is for Emma to explain this to a character, and we're good. So to explain why I think Emma would be a great antagonist, first I need to explain why Vuk, with a V, and yes, that is this character's actual name, why Vuk is just awful. Here are my 6 reasons. 1. She has no interesting connection to any of the characters. She comes out of nowhere. The entire concept of aliens comes out of nowhere. And not to nitpick, not unlike my podcast, mostly nitpicking, no one really seems to care that there are aliens now. Like, Professor X is a little confused, but besides him, after learning that there is an intelligent, hostile race of shape-shifting aliens living on Earth, the combined reaction of the rest of the group is, huh. So yeah, Vuk doesn't have any real interesting connection to any of the main characters, and you don't always need to have one, but it helps. Almost all of the best antagonists have some relationship with the protagonist. Number 2, Vuk had no personality. Jessica Chastain's performance was incredibly flat. Number 3, Vuk had no clear ideology. She just wanted power, but not for any interesting reason besides just she did. Number 4, Vuk had a boring goal. She wanted to take over the Earth or the universe or whatever and give her Dabaris a home. Number 5, Vuk's powers were kind of all over the place. She could shapeshift, read minds, do this weird chest crush thing, and kind of fly, but that might have been the Space Force, it's unclear. And number 6, Vuk looked boring. She was a white lady with bleach blonde hair in a black coat. That's it, for the entire movie. So that's Vuk, a complete disaster. Now, how would Emma Frost address those issues? Very well, she would do a great job. The end. So, I've got to thank my patrons. No, that's not enough? Alright, fine. Let's talk about Emma Frost. Because yes, she has shown up in 2 previous X-Men movies, Wolverine Origins and First Class. And even though First Class is great, I think she might have been the biggest single missed opportunity, besides killing the unkillable mutant, of course. But in First Class, Emma was just a pretty lady with no personality who hung around Shaw. She could turn into diamonds, which looked quite meh at the time, and she made illusions. That part was kind of cool. But Emma Frost is so much more than that. Like, one of the most interesting X-Men antagonists, and then eventual X-Men leaders. She is an extremely powerful telepath who developed a second mutation that lets her turn her body into a flexible, indestructible, diamond-like substance. She was the White Queen of the mutant Illuminati known as the Hellfire Club, and then joined the X-Men and led the team for a little while. She was part of the original Dark Phoenix comic storyline and even possessed the Phoenix Force as part of the Phoenix Five in the Avengers vs. X-Men event. Emma Frost is awesome. And yet, she never made much of an impression in the movies. But I think she could have been the perfect antagonist for the Dark Phoenix story that Simon Kinberg wanted to tell. I don't believe he had any interest in aliens, since that idea comes off as extremely half-baked in Dark Phoenix. And yeah, there was a ton of Dark Phoenix that was apparently reshot, including most of the ending, and the Dabari might have originally been Skrulls, but I don't think that would make them more compelling. The presence of the aliens really feels like a reactive studio note. Last time we did this story, the fans said they wanted more aliens in space, so they added one scene in space and some aliens. But that's completely missing the point of the Dark Phoenix storyline. In the comics, it takes place in mainly 2 parts. One's almost completely on Earth. Jean is tricked into joining the Hellfire Club by a mutant named Mastermind, and in the process unlocks the Phoenix Force that she absorbed earlier and has been imprisoned in her mind, which turns her into Dark Phoenix. This leads to the second part of the Dark Phoenix saga, which takes place almost completely in space and involves a space trial by an alien race known as the Shi'ar. It's clear that Simon Kinberg's story for Dark Phoenix and X-Men The Last Stand, which he also wrote, skews closer to that first part, the slow burn of the Phoenix Force taking over Jean on Earth and the X-Men being forced to stop her. That part of the saga has very little to do with aliens or space. It's a very traditional X-Men story. So there's no reason for the villain of this movie to be an alien. A more traditional, terrestrial X-Men villain would serve this story better. Especially since, unlike the Dark Phoenix comic storyline, the Dark Phoenix movie is the first X-Men movie with aliens in it. And like I said earlier, the movie doesn't even want to explore the implications of that. So let's take a look at the Dabari. When you remove the alien shapeshifter thing, what are they? Well, they are a secret organization of powerful metahumans, which would make them mutants in these movies. So, a secret organization of powerful mutants who go to events attended by influential people and have a huge, seemingly very expensive headquarters in Manhattan right off of Central Park. They are led by a blonde woman who has the power of telepathy. That's the Hellfire Club. And that's why I asked this question immediately leaving the theater. If you take away the alien element, which didn't really work anyway, you are left with Emma Frost and the Hellfire Club. And remember all those problems I had with Vuk? Well, Emma Frost solves all of them. Vuk has no interesting relationship with our heroes? Well, Emma Frost and a version of the Hellfire Club were the villains in X-Men First Class and have a history with Professor X, Magneto, Beast, and Mystique. Vuk has no personality? Emma Frost has a very reserved personality, but that's not because she's an emotionless alien. It's part of her character. She's very guarded, and she believes she's better than everyone else. Vuk has no clear ideology? Well, Emma can have a very interesting ideology, which builds nicely on the other movies in this series. We'll get to it that could be later. Vuk has a boring goal? Well, Emma can have a new and interesting goal informed by her history with the team and her ideology. Vuk's powers are boring and all over the place? Well, Emma has two very clear powers, which we've already introduced in X-Men First Class. And the advances in CGI technology since 2010 should be able to make a stunning diamond effect. Vuk has a boring look? Well, this is Emma Frost. And it's not just fan service, Emma's look is also informed by her goals and her ideology. And even though we could still hypothetically use January Jones, I don't really like her in that role. I never did. Jessica Chastain could definitely pull off Emma Frost, and if you don't believe me, check out the movie Molly's Game. Also, and we probably shouldn't even bring this up, but Emma is one of the mutants who could conceivably have not aged since the 1960s, since she does not age or need to eat or even breathe while in her diamond form, and this version of Emma could conceivably spend most of her time in her diamond form to avoid aging. So then the big question, what does a version of this movie with Emma Frost look like? Well, I'm going to walk you through all of the scenes with Vuk and explain how Emma would make a more compelling antagonist and give you an idea of what this new version of Dark Phoenix would look like. So first scene with Vuk is the scene where Jessica Chastain is having a fun dinner party full of decidedly non-90s decor. She goes out to check on a dog who is getting freaked out in the woods by something, what's your best case scenario here? A bear? A wolf? Then Jessica Chastain gets replaced by Vuk, and then Vuk kills all the dinner guests. So this is an easy one. Jessica Chastain, who we don't even know is Emma Frost yet, is having a fancy dinner and suddenly gets a big headache because Jean used her Phoenix powers at the bonfire. Someone says, "Are you okay?" And Emma says, "Something powerful. Psychic. Young. Oh my. We need to go. Now." So Emma just sent Jean because telepath and recognized that this was one of Xavier's kids. All we need. But maybe also someone else at the dinner gives another member a look, a woman dressed in black. We'll get to her later. Next scene, post-Mystique killing fight. Two detectives visit Jean's father. They aren't Emma or anyone we've seen so far. New characters. They question the father. He says some mean things about Jean. One detective takes it personally, and then Jean's father gets a big headache and passes out. The detectives leave. Next scene, Vuk meets Jean at the bar. We can pretty much keep that scene completely as is. Everything Vuk says more or less works for Emma. I'll read you the conversation since I don't want a copyright claim. Thanks, Fox. Or I guess Disney now, who knows. "You can't control my mind like theirs. I'm not like them. Same, please. How did you find me? Let's just say I have friends in high places. Who are you? The better question is, who are you? Are you a scared little girl who answers to a man in a chair? Or are you the most powerful creature on the planet? I don't know who I am. Yes, you do. You're the girl who everyone abandons. Maybe they had good reason. Because what's inside you, you're afraid of it because you think it makes you bad, evil, all the words you've been taught to keep you in line. Words created a very long time ago by men with very little minds. They can't begin to comprehend what you are. Even your X-Men. And you can. That's not bad. Could 100% be Emma Frost. Even the way Chastain delivers the lines is similar to how you'd expect Emma to deliver them, and how January Jones does in First Class. So yeah, this scene is exactly the same. Well, not exactly. She should be wearing white. Emma Frost always wears white. She's the White Queen. But the reason this scene works with Emma and doesn't with Vuk is because Emma isn't just manipulating Jean by feeding Jean whatever she wants to hear. Emma is genuinely relating to Jean. Emma was also abandoned. Emma was also seen as too powerful. Emma and Jean are the same. And this convinces Jean to go with Emma. That moment is way more interesting if Emma is legitimately connecting with Jean. So then I want to add a scene. Jean and Emma walking to the Hellfire Club building. I want Emma to relate to Jean even more. We're gonna get a bunch of important things done in this conversation. So Jean and Emma are walking. Jean says, "So who are you?" "Well, some call me the White Queen, but my name is Emma Frost. I thought you were dead." "Yes, that was the intended effect. I faked my death so that I could get out of the spotlight for a while." "What do you want with me?" "Well, you were what, 10, 11 when your abilities manifested?" 11. "Me too. Telepathy, like you. For the first few years, I couldn't control it. Other people's thoughts were everywhere. Their desires, their fears, it was constant. I was kicked out of my home, went to live on my own, and I learned a lot, using my abilities, economics, politics, but more than anything else, I learned this. People are ugly. Inside. Humans, mutants, every single one. So like you, I developed a second mutation. You became telekinetic because you needed control, but I, thick skin, unbreakable, because I knew how much the world really wanted to break me. The professor probably told you not to read other people's minds without their consent. Probably said it was unethical or something like that. But I think it's because if you saw their thoughts, what they really think of us, what they really want to do to us, you wouldn't want to save them anymore. That's why I think he does it. Because Xavier knows if he saw what was out there, what was really out there, he would have to wake up from that silly dream of his. So what, you want to take this power from me? God, no. I want you to use it to do some real good. Oh, one question. Why White Queen? It's chess, the game. The queen has all the power. Whether people realize it or not, the queen controls the board. Plus, I look terrific in white. So there we go, a refresher on Emma Frost and her powers with a pretty succinct explanation of her ideology. So then some big changes. Emma and Jean get to the building. They are greeted by other members of the organization. Emma says, "Welcome." Jean says, "Is this the Hellfire Club?" "Oh, that's what Shaw called it. He was very dramatic. I prefer to call it the Inner Circle. This is Harry Leland, the Black Bishop, Jason Wingard, the White Bishop, Sage, the White Rook, Roberto DaCosta, the Black Knight, and Jacqueline Farnsworth, the White Knight." And then a woman dressed in black walks out of the shadows, and this is Celine, the Black Queen, although you may be taking her place soon. Celine is clearly annoyed. Then Emma explains, "I've seen more than a few powerful men try to save mutant kind. Shaw tried to kill all of the humans, Eric tried to assassinate their leaders, Apocalypse tried to take over everyone's minds, good job on that one by the way, and your professor tries to live peacefully with them, and they all failed. We are closer to a full human-mutant war than we have ever been. So what are you going to do about it?" "Not going to. What have I been doing?" Do you ever wonder why the government stopped producing Sentinels? Or why they not only let Magneto go free after he tried to take over the world, but gave Magneto that land for his mutant colony? Or why your friend Aurora isn't a fugitive after working with Apocalypse? It's because of us. The Inner Circle has worked its way into the highest levels of business and government, keeping an eye on human-mutant relations. And if push comes to shove, nudging them one way or the other. With telepathy, when it's needed. We also have sizable financial resources. A lot of the time that's easier, but we need the balance. The only way for humans and mutants to keep the peace is if the powerful people don't know they're keeping it. And you want me to work with us. Use your new power to protect mutant kind. And then the mutants fight outside. So that's the change. Emma Frost is the new antagonist. But you may have a question, how does this version of Emma Frost fit into the third act of Dark Phoenix? She isn't really built up as the kind of character that's gonna try to kill the X-Men and steal the Space Force for herself. But I do think one such character exists. One who could facilitate a climax worthy of the X-Men. Luckily, this is a 2-video series. So I'm going to explain who that character is and how she would change the finale of this movie in the second video, Redeeming Celine. So like I said at the up, this video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. I think you're going to be really excited about it because, as you already know, CuriosityStream is a fantastic subscription streaming service. On CuriosityStream, you can watch documentaries on everything from nature to history to science. You can watch documentaries about the creation of the universe and asteroids and space clouds. If the Phoenix Force existed, there would definitely be a documentary about it on CuriosityStream. And CuriosityStream's an awesome deal. It's $2.99 a month or $19.99 for a year. And right now, if you sign up for CuriosityStream at the link in this video description, you also get access to something called Nebula. Nebula is a streaming service created by us creators. Patrick Willems, Lindsay Ellis, Just Right, Captain Midnight, and me. We post all of our videos on Nebula, and on Nebula, you can also watch what are called Nebula Originals. So there is a series called Working Titles where every week a different creator comes in and talks about a title sequence for a show that they find interesting. If you like the X-Men, Patrick Willems did a great video on the X-Men animated series title sequence. And I've never really thought of how awesome this title sequence is without using any words. It's nothing but images, and it's the camera flying around into the Blackbird, into Scott's visor. It is an insane title sequence. So you can watch videos like that on Nebula. And if you sign up for a trial for CuriosityStream at curiositystream.com/Nando, Nando, not only can you get a subscription to CuriosityStream, but you also get a subscription to Nebula that comes free with CuriosityStream as long as you use CuriosityStream. And you can try both for free by going to curiositystream.com/Nando, that is Nando. When you go to Nebula, find Patrick Willems' video on the intro to the X-Men animated series. I think you're really gonna dig it. So, I've got to thank my patrons. You guys are amazing. If you want to see your name up here, get access to videos early, other cool stuff, throw in literally any amount of money at patreon.com/NandoVMovies. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. Honestly, it's so cool. Every time I see a new patron, every time I see a comment on one of the videos, it's awesome, helps keep the lights on. I appreciate it so much. Also, listen to my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, where every week me and my co-host DJ pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. We've done Dark Phoenix, we did X-Men Apocalypse, we did X-Men The Last Stand this year to lead up to Dark Phoenix. You can go back, listen to those episodes, they are super funny. Also, in the Dark Phoenix episode, actually talk about this Emma Frost idea. So if you want to hear me talk about things that may eventually be videos, Mostly Nitpicking is a great place to do that. You can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are at NitpickingPod on Twitter. Last thing, as always, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at NandoVMovies. That's where you can find posts about upcoming videos, upcoming podcasts, and pictures of me and my cat where he is dressed like Baby Yoda. So a lot of great stuff there. It is at NandoVMovies. That is all I've got. I'll see you next time. Also, I want to highlight one of my patrons, Chad, who not only called the Emma Frost substitution when I posted about this a very long time ago, but he also called that I would use Ava Green for Selene. So Chad, if you're watching this, stop reading my diary.